Hey everyone, Newman here with 910, and today we are going over the impact valve adjuster and the Hammerseat alignment, or I should say the adjustment of the Hammerseat that's underneath this valve adjuster right here. So first I'm going to show you how to disassemble this valve adjuster. It's really easy. The knob comes off by your fingers, and then the post underneath uses an 11mm wrench. You can use a socket or an open end. So we're going to go through that right now. Be careful because there is a spring under here, so it may be spring tension. See? There you go, just like that. And there's your spring and your valve adjuster. Oop. There you go. We're going to set that off to the side. And now we have the post. Take the 11mm. It should not be too tight. Sometimes it is tight, so that's why it's best to use a socket so you don't strip out those edges. This piece is aluminum, so the edges do round off a little bit too easy. So we've already got that loose. We can set that down. And the rest will come off with our fingers. There you go. Set that to the side. And there you go. You see this little C1 sticking out. First of all, make sure the rifle is completely depressurized. Make sure you have no tank on. And then also make sure your regulator is bled out. After all that's done, you can pull this forward. And this is your valve assembly. Now you see mine has a Delrin on there because this was a 35 caliber impact. So the hammer does not have the Delrin inserted, but that was the older model. Now the M3, whether it's 35 or not, we'll just have the normal hammer seat and the Delrin on the hammer. In any case, to take the C1 off, you're going to need a vice grip, at least one vice grip. Vice it on right about there. And then you either have an option, either you can use another vice grip on the hammer seat, which can cause marring and damage to it, or Ernest has made this little tool right here called the C1 tool, or the hammer seat tool. As you can see here. Oh, let's see if I can get the focus. Yeah, made in the USA. And then right there on the bottom you see E-Row. Yeah. These are available in gold and red, and they're for sale on my website. Anyways, you take this tool, well, you gotta make sure the screw's backed out far enough. Takes a 1.5, and you line it up with the hole that's on the hammer seat. Some very early generations had a little tiny set screw right here, but even if it has that, it doesn't matter. This screw will still hold it. You just take that, tighten that down into the hole. You don't have to go super tight. And then this will come right off. Most of the time you'll see the remnants of a little bit of Loctite, and also there probably is a little piece of O-ring shoved down to the bottom, depending on how old your impact is and what model it is. In any case, this video is mostly about the alignment of the C1. It was brought up to me by a friend recently that there's not too much information about the alignment of the C1 on YouTube. There's not a lot of information. So I just wanted to make this video real fast. So for the Mark II and Mark I, so any model previous to the M3, it was quite common to have the C1, you had a variety of range. You could go from 5.5mm to 6.5mm. If you went all the way down to 5.5mm, you would have more power but very minimal hammer wheel adjustment. Whereas if you went to 6.5, you would lose a lot of power, and that was a common problem before, was the hammer seat backing off and making a significant reduction of power. We're talking 200, 300, 400 feet per second loss, where people are shooting 500 feet per second, 400 feet per second, and possibly even jamming the barrel. This has since been alleviated. They've tightened up the tolerances, and that's no longer an issue really. I mean, it's still going to happen every once in a while, but I mean that's extremely rare now. With the Mark I and Mark II, I found the absolute best measurement to be, here, let me finish putting this on. The absolute best measurement was about 5.75 millimeters sticking out of the action. And once I have this on, I'll show you what that is. So now I've got the hammer seat back on. It's just a rough, I don't have any sort of measurement or anything on it, but I'm just going to do this for the video. So gotta get this little 1.5 in there. There we go. Pull that out. That just slides right off. And you see there's no damage at all. No damage at all. So the measurement to take is from the base of the action here, so the face of the trigger block, to the tip of the C1 hammer seat, or just the hammer seat. You can do this with calipers, or if you're really good with a measuring tape, you could probably do it with that too, or a ruler. But here, let me go grab the calipers real fast, and we'll take this measurement. Again, this was just a rough. I just threw that on there, so I have no clue what it's at. All right, so we have my calipers now. The screen is really dim. I apologize for that. But basically, here we go. Got the depth gauge on it. Or it's gonna be best if I do it like this. And that's the way you do it, is basically you're just measuring from here. You're measuring from the base. So from the base right here to the head of the hammer seat. So the old measurement, the best old measurement was 5.75, and that's for the Mark 1 and the Mark 2. Now on the M3, they've made a slight design change to the valve pin assembly and such, to where actually now the valve pin, the best length for it is, well, actually set from the factory, it's around 6 to 6.5. So I would say the best measurement is at 6mm, because I'm sure you could tighten it farther than that. For instance, with me just lightly bottoming it out, but I did bottom it out. I did put a little bit of pressure on there. Measured out. That's at 5.8. It's at 5.8 right now. I don't know if I can show that too well. There we go. Yeah, like 5.81. So I was able to bottom it. I was almost able to get the 5.75, but that'd be cranking it on there at that point. So from the factory, I would say on any M3, I would say 6mm is the new length for sticking out of the action. So with that, we're going to reset this now. Alright, so now that we reset it, let's try to get that measurement again. And look at there, we're pretty close. 5.96. I'm gonna call that close enough for my books to be able to get that. I mean, we're talking about 0.04 of a millimeter. That's not really gonna make that much of a difference. I mean, maybe a foot per second at most. There's no way that's gonna make that much of a difference. So there you go. 6mm is the new number for the M3. And anything Mark 1 or Mark 2, whether it's got the power plenum or not, I would say 5.75mm. So if you need any help with reinstalling it, just I'm going to fast forward real fast. Here's the post. It's going to go back on, and then we'll put the valve adjuster back on. Remember, you don't need this too tight. So I'm just going to put the socket on and just barely touch it in. You don't need to crank on it or anything. You will break this if you crank on it. It will snap. So it's on there. I can't get it off my fingers. That's all you need. Okay, so once you have that on there, now you can put the spring in. You want to make sure to put it on the hammer seat first. And there we go. It's nice and in there. And then we take the knob and put it back on. And you can see that's about the same spring tension as when we took it off. And then it just threads on. One thing you will notice about the M3 valve adjuster knob is there's the holes about every other notch in the wheel. So what that is a place for a shipping screw. They do show it on the schematic, but if this is a full powered rifle, or especially a rifle that's sold in the United States, it does not need that set screw. If you have that set screw in there, it'll lock up your knob and actually can cause damage to the valve assembly. So yeah, make sure you do not need the set screw. That's, I mean, there's holes for it, but you don't need that screw in a full powered rifle. Alright, so that's it for the hammer seat adjustment for the Mark 1, Mark 2, and M3. Please remember that the Mark 1 and the Mark 2 is 5.75mm, and then the M3 is 6mm. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below, or you can shoot me an email as always. And also, happy shooting.